Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star episode number 399 based on novel. So let's start. Inside boat of Mausoleum, all the stereoscopic phantoms glowed in different colors. Luo Feng, Deer Bug Master, Sorcerer Sprite Master, and Shadow Dust Master all walked to the phantoms and stood in front of the stone pillars. They penetrated their godly power into the phantoms to study them. Even though I've lived longer than them, my brain might work faster, Deer Bug Master thought. Shadow, Sorcerer, and Luo Feng could feel the sense of hostility and competition in the air, though none of them spoke a word. They were the first ones here for the inheritance. They had the best chance. Inside the miniature universe of Huge Axe Creator. Around a section of land were whirlpools and black mist that seemed to be destroying the world. Luo Feng sat at the top of the mountain with his legs crossed, watching the whirlpools in the distance. His finger pointed to the space, and traces of godly power penetrated it and formed a complex stereoscopic phantom. How amazing! Such a complicated Rhinoceros Emperor game. I've been trying to comprehend it for a while, but I have no idea how it works. What are the rules of this game? Luo Feng hadn't played any game seriously before. While still living on Earth, he'd been trying to better his life and the lives of his family. After he became a warrior, he had never had a chance to relax. However, now that he was standing among the most powerful beings in the original universe, he started to study the most popular game from an ancient civilization. He was very curious about this game. After all, it could test, or even improve, one's comprehension. What are the rules for this game? Luo Feng said again, studying it carefully. Although he had just started studying the game in boat of Mausoleum, more than a day had passed outside the boat. Thanks to the speed of his brain, he could immediately finish studying the spaceship. However, he couldn't even decipher the basic rules for the game. 123 solved games in total, he muttered. 123 solved games and 123 broken games. They correspond to each other. Light. Shape. Luo Feng studied it for more than 3 years. This is the game rule? Luo Feng whispered, smiling a bit. Rhinoceros Emperor game is a stereoscopic game, like a complex engraving picture. Rule number 1, there are 10,081 basic elements. Luo Feng said to himself. Rule number 2, on each microstereoscopic hologram, each basic element can only appear once. Rule number 3, every microstereoscopic hologram will change, which makes the holograms appear different from each other. No two lines of the hologram can have the same picture. Rule number 4. Rule number 5. Rule number 9, in the ultimate solved game, the stereoscopic phantom formed by godly power has a perfect circle. The energies will exist forever. 9 rules, and all were extremely complicated. Even the mind of a universe master couldn't remember the position of a basic element. Countless basic elements formed a microstereoscopic picture, countless pictures formed a small stereoscopic picture, countless small pictures formed a medium-sized picture, countless medium-sized pictures formed a stereoscopic phantom. Even universe masters wouldn't have been able to remember them. One needed to understand the mysteries behind the game. Just like performing techniques, one needed to understand the mysteries to truly perform it, as its complexity could not be memorized directly by the brain. Impressive! Luo Feng exclaimed. How complex the rules are! And each game formed is complete and doesn't consume any energies? Impressive! Even the engraving of my miniature universe can't achieve a perfect energy circle. The first round of Rhinoceros Emperor game isn't as complicated as the miniature universe engraving picture. However, it is exceedingly complex, and the energies last forever. That's why it's perfect. No wonder Rhinoceros Emperor game is so popular in Duandong River Wu. Amazing that someone was able to create such a mysterious game. Luo Feng was excited. It was much easier to study Rhinoceros Emperor game after learning the rules, and he was immediately attracted to the game. Immediately, Luo Feng was addicted. It was interesting, challenging, and offered a sense of accomplishment. He admired Rhinoceros even more now for being able to create such a game. It had strict requirements for intelligence, and one needed to be at least an undying fighter to be able to contemplate the game. Duandong River said that in the ancient civilization, everyone, including the children, loved this game, thought Luo Feng. Does that mean even children of that civilization were undying? The idea flashed through Luo Feng's mind. Then he stopped overthinking and focused on contemplating the game. Dear Bug Master, Shadow Dust Master, Sorcerer Sprite Master, and Luo Feng were all staring at the stereoscopic phantoms. Finally, Sorcerer Sprite Master transmitted the voice. Shadow Dust. Shadow Dust. I've figured out the rules. What are the rules? Shadow Dust Master was overjoyed. This goddamn game. I've studied it for a long time, yet I still have no idea how the rules are. The rule is, and Sorcerer Sprite Master notified him. Shadow Dust Master was exhilarated. Of course. Ha ha. No wonder I couldn't figure out the mysteries behind these phantoms. The connections between these stereoscopic pictures are so complicated. Sorcerer Sprite, we both know the rules now. How about the other two? They both glanced at Luo Feng and Dear Bug Master. Dear Bug Master and Luo Feng stood as still as sculptures. Don't worry about them, said Sorcerer Sprite Master. We can communicate with each other and comprehend those together. We'll be way ahead of them. That's right. When the second true master and others from our race come here, we'll have a better chance. From the 3 universe eras to the 2 holy lands, great beings from almost all the powers were heading toward Universe Boat. Great beings from the Heaven Clock clan was the first to arrive. 100,000 times faster than light speed, a broken shadow was roaming the space outside Flame Ice region. It was approaching Boat of Mausoleum at high speed. Jittery Sea Master, Red Lark Master, and the Silent Rock Giant Master were all looking at that shadow. It's a Universe Supreme Master. That broken shadow immediately slowed and stopped in front of the gate. The 3 Universe Masters were horrified and took a step back. Shadow Clock Demon Master? The 3 Universe Masters all looked at the outside. A black clock shadow floated outside the gate. Then the shadow dissipated. Followed by a ripple, a weird elder with long hair that had billions of small black clocks on it appeared. There were even clocks on his eyebrows and body hair. This was the typical outward appearance of a creature from the Heaven Clock clan. Shadow Clock Demon Master. The 3 Universe Masters gave a salutation. Ha! Skeleton Race, thanks for the news. Shadow Clock Demon Master laughed. 3 great beings from my race are rushing here. 3 forces showed up. Go to that control room, Shadow Clock Demon Master ordered. He looked at Jittery Sea Master. You know how to go. Of course, said Jittery Sea Master. This is the map. A trace of godly power flew outside his body, and a complex map was formed, leading to the center palace. It was a simple route, and it was easily understandable. Great. Shadow Clock Demon Master nodded. Then go. Shadow Clock Demon Master took a look at the 3 Universe Masters from the Heaven Clock clan and added, the hope of our race is borne on your shoulders. Okay. Okay. We'll make it or die trying. The 3 Universe Masters were also excited. They flew to the control room like 3 streaks of light. After half a year, in front of the gate of Boat of Mausoleum. How will you stop us from getting in, Shadow Clock Demon Master? Do you want to fight us, the first ancestral god school? Get the hell out of here. Shadow Clock Demon Master. 6 Universe Masters had gathered in front of the gate. They were all Universe Masters staying around Flame Ice region. They had come here after hearing the news. However, Shadow Clock Demon Master needed to take care of his race. He needed to stall any other great beings as long as possible. Shadow Clock Demon Master stood there, ignoring them. A powerful force tore apart the surrounding space and time. Shadow Clock Demon Master was horrified and looked toward the force. Such a strong force, he said. Which Universe Supreme Master is it? I've never seen you. A beam of light rushed into the gate. Shadow Clock Demon Master didn't dare to resist it. He could tell that the palace true treasure was a supreme true treasure. Its powerful force permeated the surroundings. An elder in a white cape surrounded with leaves landed. He glanced at Shadow Clock Demon Master. You are, Shadow Clock Demon Master frowned. Eastern Emperor Holy Land, ... The white-caped elder didn't even want to take one more look at Shadow Clock Demon Master. He waved his hands, and suddenly, 20 Universe Masters, 200 Universe Knights, and 2,000 Undying Fighters appeared. Go, he ordered. Get the inheritance for our Eastern Emperor Holy Land. Yes. All the great beings rushed in. The skeleton race had given the map to Eastern Emperor Holy Land a long time ago in an effort to befriend them. North True, haven't been in Universe Ocean for more than 10 universe eras, the white-caped elder said, glancing at the others. If Purple Moon Holy Land and the other powers haven't arrived by now, they never will. The white-caped elder waved his hands, and a giant black oval blocked the gate. Now that I'm here, let's see who can get in. The white-caped elder took a step and merged with the black oval. On the life and death corridor of Boat of Mausoleum, there were 6 figures standing in scattered directions while observing the ongoing Rhinoceros Emperor game. Any movement? Luo Feng's brows were furrowed, and he looked outward. He could vaguely feel the bouts of ripples being transmitted over from the other end of the corridor. He guessed that was where he had earlier exchanged blows with Monster Cuello. The ripples produced during their battle had caught the attention of Shadow Dust Master, Sorcerer Sprite Master, Deer Bug Master, and the 2 other Universe Masters from Heaven Clock Clan. Their expressions did not look very well. Could it be that another great being has arrived? Luo Feng mumbled to himself. Duandong River has left the floodgate open, and for those from the skeleton race, who were eliminated at the very beginning, he did not kill them. Rather, he let them off unscathed. Obviously, he wanted the news to spread so that he could attract the attention of more great beings. The greater the number of candidates, the higher the chances of finding a great being that could accept his inheritance. Luo Feng could understand Duandong River's intentions, but his actions added pressure to Luo Feng. Rhinoceros Emperor game is really difficult. Although it has not even been a year here, in Huge Axe's universe, I have been comprehending for a couple thousand years. Luo Feng sighed. A few decades of comprehension, yet I am still in the pondering stage. Now, I have merely passed up to the 119th stage and have instantly mapped it out onto the crystal pillar. From the 1st to the 10,081st stage, Rhinoceros Emperor game was unbelievably demanding on one's ability to comprehend. Although the regulations had been summed up earlier, indicating that one only needed to decode a complete solution for the 1st to the 123rd stage, to achieve full comprehension and then to instantly map it out was still very difficult. Luo Feng had to fully comprehend the first 100 stages before he felt that he had made some improvement. That was an improvement in his ability to comprehend, as when he was thinking about the mapping process, his consciousness could take up a more multidimensional structure. A short while later, a strong ripple was transmitted. A great many figures were flying over. Luo Feng and the other 5 could not resist turning around to look, and what they saw brought changes to their expressions. So many. This is really a lot. How can there be so many? Luo Feng and the rest were shocked. With one look, the dense crowd of figures included at least a couple hundred great beings, and most of these hundreds of figures had similar appearances. For instance, their godly bodies were generally surrounded by green leaf vines. The majority of these figures were obviously from the same race, with only a handful who obviously were different from this race. Shadow Dust Master's expression changed slightly. Almost all of them are from East Emperor Holy Land universe. Only 3 are from another race. East Emperor Holy Land universe has unexpectedly sent so many over. Look, not all of them are universe masters. There are even universe knights and undying souls, Sorcerer Sprite Master added. Previously, Monster Cuello had been extremely terrifying, but now, even universe knights and undying souls are able to make it past Monster Cuello to come here alive. I think Monster Cuello must have taken into consideration the intruder's ability before showing its power. Yes. This news is very important. Previously, clans only brought more universe masters over to try their luck. They did not bring any undying godly spirits. This news must be transmitted to our clan. If we are talking about undying godly spirits, the Divine Eye clan has tons of them. Shadow Witch couples' bodies immediately started to report the news to their clan. But, the Divine Eye clan acted first and sent 2nd True Master and 7th True Master, who had already set off. An icy cold voice resounded. The turnout is quite big this time. Luo Feng turned to take a look and saw a lone figure that was formed by converging light rays standing in the distance, Duandong River. Luo Feng merely cast one brief look. Thereafter, he did not pay further heed to Duandong River. Every time there were newcomers, Duandong River would come out to repeat the same explanation. Earlier on, when the 2 universe masters from Heaven Clock clan arrived, Duandong River also gave the same explanation. Occasionally, Luo Feng would pay attention to the situation in his surroundings, but in doing so, he felt that it did not have the slightest bit of influence on his speed of comprehension. He, Deer Bug Master, and Shadow Witch couple, being the earliest batch, were in an advantageous position. Even if an outstanding great being turned up later, so long as any one of the four managed to meet the basic requirement, he or she would naturally be able to get in contact with the inheritance first. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Previously I managed to complete mapping out the first 100 stages. I felt as though things were brightening up, and I was cheering up over the fact that I had made marked improvement. Now, I have fully comprehended the first 123 stages. I am left with this 124th stage. Luo Feng cast a glance at that 124th endgame that was quite a distance away. Then he focused all his attention on the crystal pillar before him and started to try decoding. The first 123 stages were fully comprehended, but because the solutions were already publicized, there was no difficulty at all. All he had to do was comprehend the solutions thoroughly. At that moment, he was facing the first true attempt at decoding. It was not like before, where he just had to look at the outcome of the decoded game to comprehend it. This time, he had to look at the endgame to decode the game. Obviously, he felt terribly bothered. Once. Twice. Luo Feng tried to map the layout, even for those basic elements that he was unclear of, he mapped them based on his gut feeling. With the passage of time, Luo Feng's mind got clearer, as though his mind was sketching from tens of thousands of dimensions that were combining with one another, and very quickly, the basic elements were determined. This was his first attempt at decoding, and suddenly, he felt that he had gained new experiences on top of the knowledge he had learned from his previous comprehension. Half a month passed. A three-dimensional virtual shadow of a cone was forming within the crystal pillar. From the outside, no one could see it. The three-dimensional virtual shadow was perfect, suspended in mid-air. Not the least bit of godly power could be dissipated. A bout of ripples was immediately transmitted to Luo Feng's consciousness. The 124th stage has been decoded to perfect completion. Luo Feng was secretly happy. Finally, he had managed to succeed in his first attempt at decoding. I shall move on to the 125th stage. Time passed. When the group of great beings from the East Emperor Holy Land universe arrived, Luo Feng and company could feel the ripples caused by battling of supreme great beings from the outside world. And since those were ripples caused by battles in the outside world, to have that amount of power, the battles must have involved universe supreme beings. It was the 5th month since great beings from East Emperor Holy Land universe arrived. The terrifying ripples were transmitted across the different layers within the boat of Mausoleum, with their power weakening while traversing layers. When it reached the life and death corridor, where the comprehension of Rhinoceros Emperor game was ongoing, even the undying godly souls were able to detect the ripples. For the majority of great beings, like Luo Feng and Dear Bug Master, the amount that they detected was naturally much stronger. That loathsome East Emperor universe. Dear Bug Master's eyes flashed with a glimmer of rage as he looked coldly at the Universe Masters, Universe Knights, and undying godly souls of East Emperor Holy Land from afar. That North True Star Master actually blocked the doorway. He actually blocked the cabin doors. Humph. North True Star Master is in an advantageous position only because he has many supreme true treasures. That is why he dares to show such arrogance. The 3 reincarnation eras knew very little about North True Star Master. But for someone who had lived for a long time, Dear Bug Master knew a lot about North True Star Master. Incomparably ancient, North True Star Master was one of the few remaining universe supreme beings of East Emperor Holy Land universe. East Emperor Holy Land universe had been around for a long time and had therefore received countless ancient inheritances. North True Star Master may not have owned a miniature universe, but even relying on the ancient inheritances, his battle power was still considered quite strong among all the universe supreme beings. Taking the field this time, East Emperor Holy Land universe was putting in its 101% best. North True Star Master had the other universe supreme beings loaning their true treasures to him, so he had brought along a whopping 4 supreme true treasures. The 4 supreme true treasures were Palace type, Domain type, Close Combat Attack type, and Long Range Attack type, respectively. Once he blocked the door, great beings from the Purple Moon Holy Land who arrived later would not be able to charge their way in. Dear Bug Master was furious and grumbled his displeasure. Loathsome. Then, pushing North True Star Master out of his mind, he put in his best effort into studying the secret techniques. Battles in the outside world were ongoing. Purple Moon Holy Land and East Emperor Holy Land were really fighting each other to life and death, and both parties were amply prepared. As North True Star Master was first to arrive, his blocking of the entrance of the cabin doors had really left his opponent with no way out. This time, North True Star Master could arrive earlier due to certain reasons. 1. He had an attack-type Supreme True Treasure to help him pave his way. And 2. The clan had a more detailed map of the universe boat, so he could find an even nearer shortcut. The difference in arrival time of both Purple Moon Holy Land and Divine Eye Clan was not that far apart. Merely 3 days. On the third day, a battle between Purple Moon Holy Land and East Emperor Holy Land. North True. Scram. North True, you think you are able to stop the three of us? Get lost. Eternal True God. Go, get him away. At the cabin doors, Purple Moon Holy Land and the Divine Eye Clan joined forces. The three Universe Supreme Masters were doing their best to lay siege to North True Star Master. The Universe Supreme Masters of the Divine Eye Clan. Every single one of them owned a miniature universe. The power that each possessed was extraordinary. Furthermore, Second True Master and Seventh True Master were also skilled in concerted moves. North True Star Master might not have been afraid, but he could only hold out for that short moment before he was blasted away. Luo Feng and a couple hundred great beings were hard at work, trying their best to comprehend the Rhinoceros Emperor game, and, not surprisingly, Luo Feng and Dear Bug Master were the few who were faster. As for the other universe knights and undying godly souls who had come over, their speed of comprehension was much slower, especially a handful of undying godly spirits who, although they were already briefed by the other universe masters of the same race about the rules of the Rhinoceros Emperor game, were still unable to grasp a full understanding of it. From where Monster Quayo was, there were bouts of energy ripples being transmitted over. Luo Feng was aware of it. Most likely, this would be another large batch of newcomers. So many have come, but in the end, only one can receive the inheritance. Luo Feng sighed. Madness, the clans had all gone mad. After a long while, a mighty group of a couple hundred figures flew over. At first glance, a majority consisted of undying godly souls from Purple Moon Holy Land. As for the overall number of Universe Knights and Universe Masters, Purple Moon Holy Land seemed to have the same number as the Divine Eye Clan, which was also similar to East Emperor Holy Land Universe, or probably only short by 2. But if Dear Bug Master was added to the headcount, then Purple Clan Holy Land would, on the contrary, be at an advantageous position. This is the most basic rule. Dear Bug Master took one look and started telling the latecomers discreetly. Hazy light rays started to gather. The light rays gave form to a green-haired man. He had eyes that were peaceful like the ocean, and as his gaze swept the 1,000-plus candidates present, he said, "Those who have come later, this is the last test before moving on to the next hall. It is a test on your comprehension. This is my hometown. It is a game that is most widely spread. It should not be seen simply as a game, but rather, as an important means to help you hone and cultivate your comprehension. He can test and increase your comprehension, and he is given the name, Rhinoceros Emperor Game." Duandong River gave a slow and elaborate introduction. Let's begin. Within a limited time, those whose decoding progress has reached my minimal requirement may enter the next hall. Duandong River scanned the room with a cold look. Do not underestimate this Rhinoceros Emperor Game. The 4 who came the earliest, humph. Up until now, only the human was able to perfectly decode the 124th endgame. The other 3 are still too slow. If this goes on, humph. Duandong River shook his head and laughed coldly. Then he vanished into thin air. The moment his words were heard, almost simultaneously, over 1,000 candidates present, from the Divine Eye Clan, the Purple Moon Holy Land, the East Emperor Holy Land, and the other groups of powers, all looked over at Luo Feng. Luo Feng's expression changed slightly, too. That loathsome Duandong River. This is pure malice. How could he utter such words? Attack this human? So that he cannot focus on comprehending. Attack this human. Dear Bug Master and Shadow Witch couple stood afar wordlessly with distant looks on their faces. As for the Divine Eye Clan, Purple Moon Holy Land, and East Emperor Holy Land, all 3 had sent 2 to 3 Universe Masters out almost at the same time to launch attacks on Luo Feng. Duandong River might have given instructions for them to work on comprehending, but he did not forbid killing during the process of comprehending. The Divine Eye Clan, Purple Moon Holy Land, and East Emperor Holy Land had a total of 8 Universe Masters launching attacks at the same time. All of them were blazing their godly powers, then either directly, or transformed into a roaring beast, a huge axe that could hack and shatter everything, countless threads entwined together, various attacking methods they deployed, all directed towards and enveloping Luo Feng alone. This detestable bunch of idiots. Luo Feng was so angry that he was grinding his teeth. Then, right away, his godly body trembled. Crazy demon extermination godly armor suddenly expanded. Soon after, it condensed into a beast god, a gigantic, single-horned lizard. It was just like Yin Tuo's golden sulphone armor and 5 Chaos Masters' crazy demon extermination godly armor, which could also transform into beast gods. Their actual bodies would hide within the beast gods' bodies. Usually, a protective armor that could expand outward and then condense into the form of a beast god was much more valuable than ordinary Pinnacle Palace true treasures. Roar! The single-horned lizard let out a piercing roar. No matter how strongly the 8 varieties of attacks connected with it, it did not show even a trace of damage. Divine Eye Clan, Purple Moon Holy Land, and East Emperor Holy Land, the single-horned lizard roared with rage. To think you all could be shameless to such an extent! The great beings from the Divine Eye Clan scoffed. Shameless? What a great joke! With the impending doomsday, this precious Duan Dong River's inheritance is our only hope for survival. For this inheritance, nothing we do could ever be shameless enough. A 3-faced elder with 8 arms from Purple Moon Holy Land sneered and said, Luo Feng, you humans want this inheritance too. You are merely a weak little race with a single universe supreme master. How ridiculous! The single-horned lizard shot him a look of indifference. Weak? They must have been unaware of the power of Huge Axe Creator. A cold, gloomy great being from the Divine Eye Clan glared at Luo Feng. You think you can disregard us just because you have an armor treasure? Everyone, time to take action. Let's exterminate this greatest threat in our way. Sure. Even if we don't manage to kill him, we should ensure that he cannot focus on studying the Rhinoceros Emperor game. Suddenly, the 8 Universe Masters continued to beseech Luo Feng. Previously, they had stood afar and merely executed their techniques with their godly powers, so the might of their attacks was not very forceful. But this time, the majority of them were 5th-tiered or at least 4th-tiered Universe Masters. All of them were executing their killing moves, be they soul attacks or close-range attacks. Roar? The single-horned lizard continued to roar furiously. A bunch of bastards. You all don't even dare to go through a round of fair comprehension. What is fairness? You weak human. You are not qualified to ask for fairness. You are too weak. Ha ha. What a joke you are. Amidst all the jests and jeers, they rained attacks on the single-horned lizard without holding back whatsoever. The single-horned lizard reeled back and hit the side wall, colliding with one of the stone pillars that sported a 3-dimensional virtual shadow. This caused the stone pillars to tremble, but they were indestructible. Thus, the 8 Universe Masters grew even more rampant in their attacks. Beneath their onslaught, Luo Feng was rendered helpless with no room for retaliation. Crazy Demon Extermination Godly Armor, when expanded into a Beast God, has extremely strong defense abilities. He thought. It is comparable to a Pinnacle Palace True Treasure, yet its combat power is still at a 4th-tier standard. Out of the 8, 6 are obviously stronger than me, and I am only on par with the other 2. The most terrible thing is that those 2 are not taking me on one by one, they are all ganging up on me. Luo Feng was in a panic. He was sustaining the stability of the single-horned lizard by consuming his godly power. Although he was trying his best to put up a fight and evade their attacks, he was still being crushed. Amidst all this fighting, he had to ensure that he was maintaining the stability of the single-horned lizard. This alone kept him distracted. The efficiency of comprehending suddenly fell. Loathsome, growled Luo Feng. Duan Dong River is simply watching all this happen? Luo Feng was furious. He was also confused as to Duan Dong River's true intention. For Duan Dong River to have made such a comment earlier on, it was as if he wanted to make Luo Feng a public enemy. The fact that Luo Feng had a relatively short cultivation time was well known throughout Universe Ocean, and he was part of the first batch that went in to receive the inheritance for this round. When he had been at the Magicube instrument, he had been able to make an impression on Duan Dong River, and he was also the first to successfully comprehend the 124th stage of the Rhinoceros Emperor game. Various factors were at play. How could the Divine Eye Clan, Purple Moon Holy Land, and East Emperor Holy Land watch while Luo Feng was about to receive that inheritance? Of course, they would use their most devious means to stop him. Roar? The single-horned lizard let out a furious roar, and 4 hooved feet suddenly stomped onto the ground as it dashed across the shadows and flew toward the other end of the passageway where another group of undying godly spirits were. Not good. Take cover, everyone. Those undying godly spirits all had a great shock. They were implicated in a battle between Universe Masters. In fact, from the start of the siege, no one had yet to be annihilated because no one knew what rules Duandong River would impose. Since it was a one-time selection of candidates, Duandong River would most likely not want to see any killing among his candidates, which was why the 8 Universe Masters made the smart move to hold back while attacking Luo Feng. This was also why all the combat that had been going on did not implicate any of those undying godly spirits. But now, Luo Feng had charged his way in amongst the group of undying godly spirits. Once the fighting started, even if efforts were put into controlling the situation, even a minor implication would most likely cause an undying fighter to face annihilation. A dazzling, heavy hammer appeared, seeming to fill the whole space between heaven and earth. It hacked the back of the single-horned lizard, causing it to buckle to its knees. Bouts of invisible waves were produced in succession, and the undying godly spirits who had already tried their best to escape at lightning speed were still implicated. 2 unlucky ones eventually faced annihilation and were reduced to nothing but ash carried away on the wind. They were instantly dispersed upon annihilation. Dead. The single-horned lizard took one look behind him. 2 undying fighters have lost their lives. The 8 Universe Masters laying siege against Luo Feng were also shocked. They temporarily stopped to observe the movements around them. Shadow Dust Master, Sorcerer Sprite Master, and Deer Bug Master also watched with great eagerness. The 3 of them had yet to intervene with any matters that concerned Luo Feng since the group of great beings had arrived. Since the 3 of them, representing the Divine Eye Clan and Purple Moon Holy Land, were the most hopeful candidates for the inheritance, the 2 groups of powers naturally would not be willing to let them take the risk. There was silence for a moment. The single-horned lizard and the 8 Universe Masters laying siege on it all watched, waiting to see if the deaths of the 2 undying fighters would arouse any action from Duandong River. Suddenly, from the stone pillars with 3-dimensional virtual shadows, 123 on the left and 123 on the right, there was an outburst of black and white lines. A total of 246 light rays were converging in midair in an instant. They transformed into a single beam that had a spirit of its own, swimming about like a water snake. This ray of light immediately swept toward the Universe Master from East Emperor Universe who was dealing strikes at Luo Feng with his huge hammer. The ray of light ray extremely fast. It exceeded 100 times light speed, surpassing the limit allowable by the universe law. All the great beings felt a quick and forceful wave. A roar of reluctance was heard as that lofty Universe Master holding his godly hammer was annihilated, leaving behind some true treasures on the ground. Hundreds of rays of light began to cover and wind about the godly hammer, the armor, and some other true treasures. Then they swiftly were sent to one of the nearest stone pillars with a 3-dimensional virtual shadow. The godly hammer, armor, and other true treasures instantly disappeared into the pillar. Silence resumed within the passageway. A long time later, hushed voices began to speak. Fog Creator Master is dead? Fog Creator Master. Fog Creator Master of East Emperor Holy Land Universe. Every great being present was taken aback. Even Luo Feng felt a shudder in his heart. This was simply terrifying. Originally, he had thought that even if Duandong River were to mete out punishment, it would probably be something like deploying his monster-like subordinates, like Kueyo. But much to his surprise, the numerous stone pillars along the passageway contained secret techniques which could be activated even after their masters had been annihilated countless reincarnation eras ago. One strike, and Fog Creator Master was exterminated. Fog Creator Master had been a special life form that lived within East Emperor Holy Land Universe. He was skilled in techniques like the trapping of enemies, and furthermore, he was originally a living soul composed out of a mass of fog. Even after he had been condensed into human form, killing him was still extremely difficult. He had spent innumerable reincarnation eras cultivating his achievements in secret techniques, so even though he was just a living soul made up of fog, he was able to execute extremely strong attacks. In terms of power, he was definitely comparable to Primal Chaos City Leader. And in terms of the ability to protect himself, he was a notch stronger. This life form had lived through incomparably long ages. He had been a being that could roam Universe Ocean without restraint. Even Universe Supreme Masters found him to be extremely difficult to exterminate. And in a single stroke, he had met with annihilation. Horrifying. This is just too scary. Fog Creator Master is exterminated, just like that. Some of the weaker undying godly spirits showed fear in their eyes. Luo Feng, on the other hand, discreetly let out a sigh of relief. Duandong River was indeed impressive. Although a thunderous technique would have probably been enough to frighten this bunch, Duandong River was vicious, executing instant extermination and plundering the treasures immediately. Previously, when we were laying siege on human-form Milky Way, Lord Duandong River did not stop us at all, said the gloomy and cold man from the Divine Eye clan. This time around, it must be because undying godly spirits were implicated, so Fog Creator Master had to die. He added in an aloof manner, so long as we do not implicate any great beings around us, we should be fine. True. We were fighting for so long, yet he did not stop us. He did not punish us. Let's get moving. We are the three groups of powers with the greatest advantage now. We must not let Luo Feng be the ultimate candidate to accept that inheritance. We must restrain him first. As for we three groups of powers, we shall just have to rely on each other's abilities. I propose that all undying godly spirits and universe knights temporarily go into the palace true treasure, the gloomy and cold man said immediately. We already know the rules. Now we just have to familiarize ourselves with how to play the game. Let them stay within the palace true treasure to work on comprehending the game first. This will ensure that they cannot possibly be implicated in any way. Good idea. I second that. The three groups of powers, the Divine Eye clan, Purple Moon Holy Land, and East Emperor Holy Land, hesitated no longer. With the Universe Masters taking charge and all Universe Knights and undying godly spirits under their command, all were sent into the palace true treasure for the time being. Luo Feng was in the form of a single horned lizard as he stood where he was, looking at the other 7 figures in the distance. Fog Creator Master is already dead. Do you all seek your deaths too? The single horned lizard let out a low growl. A man from East Emperor Holy Land universe whose entire body was surrounded with vines and green leaves retorted with a jest, Fog Creator Master's main body was annihilated, but he still has his other body kept alive. All of us surrounding you can divide our bodies. So long as we can destroy you so that you are unable to lay hands on the inheritance, does it even matter if our main bodies are annihilated? That's right. So long as this human is dead, our deaths are worthwhile. I came here, originally, with no intentions of getting that inheritance. So long as I can remove all the obstructions in the way for my clan's members to be able to get that inheritance, annihilation is worthwhile. The 7 Universe Masters were all mentally prepared. If they were to be annihilated, they would do so most willingly, not to mention that they were willing to be exterminated in the passageway, which would only mean the extermination of their bodies. Their divided bodies would still be kept alive. You weak little human, dream on. This inheritance? You will never get it. 7 figures surrounded the single-horned lizard and charged toward it at the same time. They were all prepared and would rather give up their chance of comprehending the Rhinoceros Emperor game just to ensure that they had this human under control, so that they could destroy him. This video will end here.